Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's talk show. Nowadays, parenting has become a hot topic discussed everywhere. The child who was raised from a toxic parenting becomes someone who has a weak mentality. Toxic parenting is the application of parenting style that refers to behavior that is not good and has a bad impact on children, both mentally and physically. Here today, we are going to dig up about what happened and what seems to be the issues that are happening to our child generation, especially Gen Z. Citizens claims that Gen Z is a flop generation because of their weak mentality. Is it true that this is about their mentality? Today, in our studio, there are Syifaul Husna as a child representative and also a Gen Z representative. Good morning, Shifa. Good morning. And also, there are Mrs. Yoan as the parents representative. Good morning, Mrs. Yoan. Good morning. All right. And also, the last one, we have Mrs. Husnul Chotimah as the expert of this parenting and also mentality of the children field. Good morning, Mrs. Husnul. Good morning. All right. So, firstly, we are going to hear what Shifa's thought about parenting's parent who adhere the old parenting style.
I want to share my experience of living with toxic parenting. It has been incredibly challenging and has taken a toll on my well-being. My parents have enforced rules and limitations on me, leaving me feeling trapped and suffocated. They control every aspect of my life, from my daily activities to my career choices. When I was younger, they often prevented me from going out to play with my friends. I have no say in this decision that directly impact my future. They discard my dreams and aspirations, forcing me to follow a path that aligned with their expectation. Now they expect me to pursue a career in medicine. Their contact The constant criticism and belittlement have shattered my self-esteem, making me doubt, making me doubt my own abilities and worth. Instead of nurturing and supporting me, they use fear and manipulation as tool for control. I feel trapped as if I'm living in a cage.
Trapped and living in a cage. Wow, those were deep words from the children's perspective. Now, let's hear what's parents' perspective feeling about feeling trapped and living in a cage. Is that what actually parents actually plan for the children? Mrs. Yuan, the floor is yours.
I strongly disagree about what children actually think about how we nurture them. We set boundaries for them to hinder them. It's purely because we parents know what we need to teach our kids. Our parents want the best for their children, right? That's why we're doing it. So, there is no intention to trap children into bad things. That is the wrong perspective.
We are okay if parents do this kind of things for our goods, but entering the old way of parenting is no longer valid today. Doesn't everyone have their own human right? I think that parents, I think that parents want to report the children human rights by continuing to prohibit the children from doing this and that. Very inappropriate. Even our parents still use violence to educate. It is a natural thing to hurt children.
It should be underlined that we, parents, are not forbidding you to use your human right. But for teenagers, it is very prone to falling into dangerous holes, such as promiscuity and others. We also limit to not regulated you. but how we get you to determine your path in life. For example, my daughter wants to be the musician, but what she doesn't know is that it won't last long. Gradually, when you grow up, you will understand that we mean by wanting you to have a stanley job and regretting violence. I don't know whether the mentality of today's youth is really this fragile. We parents have also been through this period and we feel the positive effect and we are fine until now because we know our parents mean well.
Alright, Shipa thinks that this violates the human right of every child, and it is very inappropriate to use violence in educating the children. While Mrs. Yoan thinks that it doesn't take away children's human right, but to guide them to determine the best life and also the realistic way of their life. Mrs. Yoan also thinks that today's children mentality is very fragile. Is it really like that? Well, we will turn to Mrs. Husnul, who is an expert about this. And we want to know about what is toxic parenting is. Mrs. Husnul, can you please explain to us what is toxic parenting is?
Toxic parenting refers to a pattern of parenting behaviors characterized by negative, harmful, and damaging actions or attitudes toward children. It involves the use of controlling, manipulated, and abusive tactics that have adverse effects on the child's emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical well being. Toxic parenting can include a wide range of behaviors, such as excessive control, emotional manipulation, neglect, abuse, unrealistic expectation, lack of boundaries, and inconsistency. These behaviors can undermine a child's self esteem, hinder their emotional development, and impact their overall mental health. It is important to recognize toxic parenting patterns and seek support to address and mitigate their harmful effects on both the child and the parent-child relationship.
Alright, thank you, Mrs. Husnul, for providing us the clear definition of toxic parenting is. Now, how is your opinion regarding the child's perspective and also the parent's perspective? Please, Mrs. Husnul.
We all agree that Shipa's attitude shows that today's youth are tired of the limitations set by their parents. Because this concern their limited freedom and limited human rights, but I need to emphasize that as a child who is still not legal, you also cannot act freely. Parents must also provide limits for children. That is very important for children's development in all aspects. And as Mrs. Yohan said earlier, these limits will lead children to be able to make good decisions, for example, avoiding promiscuity, which is bad for the psychological development of children.
So, as I can conclude, you agree with the parents who set boundaries for helping their children development in all aspects. Is that right, Mrs. Husnul?
I agree with parents who set boundaries, but not excessive boundaries like forbidding children to do this and that. Basically, these boundaries are very crucial for children's development in many aspects, but also very dangerous for development if set excessively because in the end a child will want to rebel.
I agree with Mrs. Husna. Parents really need to set boundaries. But our parents who come from the millennial generation adhere too much to parenting from their parents who set too many boundaries for us. So we don't have enough space to express ourselves, do the things we love and determine our way of life because they expect us to work and make a lot of money. Do well as they expect, which is like a dull obedience.
This is what I mean. Today's children have a fragile mentality. All they think about is their freedom and their association. I can say that what Sipa said earlier is the know-it-all opinion of today's youth. I told you, when you grow up, you will understand how important it is to have money in his harsh work. We have lived longer and know what is needed in this world. If you only rely on your hobbies, you may not necessarily be successful. Only lucky people can be successful from their hobbies. Don't be naive.
Alright, now listen to Mrs. Husnul's explanation about it. Is it true that guilt parenting is no longer valid nowadays? And is it true that too many boundaries obstruct children's ability to express themselves?
Yeah, these are the crucial points that parents have to know. You need to know if all parenting can no longer apply today. Why? This can subvert the child's development in all aspects. For example, such as educating with violence. This can affect the emotional development of children so that they cannot express themselves properly. As for the impact of children who often experience violence from their parents, make children feel worthless and tend to have mental illness, difficulties socializing, and even children will tend to look for various ways to vent themselves, such as falling into promiscuity. In addition, violence against children is also contained in Article 81 and Article 76C Law 35 of 2014 concerning the protection of children with a maximum imprisonment of 3 years and 6 months or a maximum fine 72 million rupiah.
Alright, thank you, Mrs. Husnul, for sharing us on the bad impact or negative impact of all parentings and also the consequences when you use the violence to educate your children. It's clear that there are serious implications for the children's emotional well-being and overall development. Maybe Mrs. Yoan want to say something after hearing Mrs. Husnul's explanation about it.
I still believe that having financial stability is pursuing a career path that ensures a secure future is essential. It's not about restricting children's choice, but guiding them toward a realistic and successful path.
I understand the need for financial stability, but it shouldn't come at the cost of sacrificing our dreams and passion. There should be room for us to explore our interests and make choices that align with our true self. By enforcing too many boundaries, parents can inadvertently hinder their children's personal growth and ability to express themselves.
Finding the balance between setting boundaries and fostering self expression is indeed crucial. Parents need to understand that healthy boundaries are necessary for a child's development, but excessive restrictions can have adverse effects. It's important to have open communication within the family, where parents listen to their children's desires and dreams. By understanding their children's passions, parents can guide them towards a path that combines their interests with practicality.
Alright, thank you, Mrs. Husnul. It is clear that open communication, empathy, and also understanding play key roles in fostering a healthy parents and child relationship. We should strive to create an environment where children can express themselves while still having the necessary boundaries for their well-being.
I completely agree with Mrs. Husnul's perspective on finding a balance between setting boundaries and allowing children to express themselves. Open communication is crucial in understanding our desires and dreams. When parents listen to the children and guide them based on their interests and practicality, it creates a supportive environment when children can thrive. Restricting children choices too much can either hinder their personal growth and self-expression.
Well said, Shiva. It's evident that striking a balance between setting boundaries and fostering self expression is essential for children's development. Parents should prioritize open communication, empathy, and understanding to create a supportive environment where children can thrive and pursue their passion while still having a sense of guidance. I'm curious to know if you have implemented this open communication with your own children, Mrs. Yuan.
So I must admit that I haven't fully implemented open communication in my parenting approach. I come from a generation where such practices were not as common or emphasized.
All right, thank you very much for sharing your experience, Mrs. Yoan. It's understandable that parenting approaches can differ across generation, and the emphasis on open communication may not have been as prevalent during your upbringing. Mrs. Husnul, could you please give us some explanation about how to prevent toxic parenting?
To prevent toxic parenting, there are several important aspects to consider. First, if you are stuck with past memories, parents must slowly realize and accept the bad experience that have passed. As a good parent, you shouldn't blame the situation. So, whether or not our parents' upbringing was good in the past, we can improve it in the present. Secondly, it is crucial to increase the intensity of communication between parents and children. As we discussed before, encouraging open and honest dialogue allows for better understanding of each other's perspectives, needs, and concerns. Active listening and empathy play a significant role in fostering a strong parent child bond. Furthermore, it's important for parents to avoid overly criticizing their children. Instead of constantly pointing out flaws or shortcomings, parents should focus on constructive feedback and encouragement. Building a supportive atmosphere where children feel accepted and valued will contribute to their overall well being. Lastly, giving children freedom within appropriate boundaries is vital. Allowing them to make choices and express their individuality fosters a sense of autonomy and self confidence. By providing a safe space for explorations and growth, parents can empower their children to become independent and responsible individuals. By incorporating these elements into parenting practices, we can create an environment that nurtures healthy development and prevents toxic parenting behaviors. It is an ongoing journey that requires patience, understanding, and a commitment to continuous growth as parents.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Husnul, for sharing your insights on preventing toxic parenting. Your explanation highlight the importance of accepting the past, increasing communication, avoiding excessive criticism, and giving children the freedom to express themselves. Now, we are at the end of our discussion today. I would like to ask you to making a closing statement starting from Shiva.
As someone who has experienced the effect of toxic parenting, I want to emphasize the significance of this discussion. It has shed light on the importance of open communication, empathy, and understanding in creating a healthy parent-child relationship. Growing up in a toxic environment can have long-lasting impacts on our child's emotional well-being and self-esteem. I encourage all parents to reflect on their own behavior, seek help if needed, and commit to creating a nurturing and loving environment for the children. Together, we can break the cycle of toxic parenting and ensure a brighter future for the next generation.
All right, thank you, Shiva, for your closing statement. Now, I would like to invite Mrs. Yoan to giving us the closing statement of what we've discussed today.
I also want to express my gratitude to both Mrs. Husnul and Sifa. This conversation has made me realize that the importance of open communication and the need of change my parenting approach. I'm inspired to create the better environment for my children, one that promotes their well-being and encourage their self-expression. I will actively work toward incorporating this principle into my parenting journey. Thank you for the valuable guidance.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Yoan, for your closing statement. And now I would like to invite the last one, the last guest today for Mrs. Husnul to giving us the closing statement. Please, Mrs. Husnul.
As we conclude this discussion, I want to emphasize the importance of preventing toxic parenting and fostering a healthy parent-child relationship. It is never too late for parents to make positive change and create a nurturing environment for their children. Let us remember that our children are unique individuals with their own dreams, desires, and emotions. We can create a safe and supportive space where our children can thrive and become the best versions of themselves. Together, we can break the cycle of toxic parenting and pave the way for a brighter and healthier future to our families.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Husnul, Mrs. Yoan, and also Shifa for participating on our discussion today. Our topic today is very interesting. We get insight about what toxic parenting is and what impact it has on children. We have learned that setting boundaries while allowing children to express themselves is a crucial point for their development and growth. Let us all take the lesson from today's discussion and apply them in our own lives. Together, we can work towards building healthier and more nurturing parent-child relationships. Thank you to our guests and also our audiences for joining us today. May we all can strive to be the best parents we can be and create a brighter future for the next generation. Stay tuned on more enlightening discussion on today's talk show. Good morning and goodbye, everyone.